What's the most embarrassing sexual experience you have had? I will start. So I actually have quite a few, but here is one that recently happened. I live on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and this past weekend I was out drinking with the usual morons, trying our luck with the ladies. Very little success. I do not get a girl to come home with me, so I, in my incredibly drunken state of mind, start texting one of my good friend's sister who had just moved in around my neighborhood for her second year of college. I knew she was always flirting with me and trying to get me to hang out with her, but you know, I was hesitant, respecting my friend. I did not really want to mess with that. Of course, being drunk and failing to hook up that night did help change my mind with that. Now backstory for a second. She moved in with two other roommates, one of which was her brother's, my good friend, let's call him Jack, girlfriend. Her apartment is not bad. 2 nice rooms and 1 smaller room which is actually just separated from the living room by a long fake wall. Back to the story. That night, out of frustration, super drunk, knowing that Jack's sister wanted me, I texted her if she wanted to hang out, because I got locked out of my apartment and my roommates were still out. Note, it's 2 a.m. She texts me to come over. She just got back to her apartment and no one's there, that they were all still out for the night. I get there, we drink a bit more, finally we're naked and things are getting hot and heavy. The side of her whole bed is against this fake wall that separates her from the living room. It is an understatement to say that this chick is a freak. How I had the stamina to do what we did, ticklish good for one thing, that's for sure. Anyway, she likes it really rough, she's into choking, screaming, spanking, and against the wall. Yeah, we were against the fake wall, going at it like kangaroos in the heat. While she was gagged by her own panties, she kept screaming harder, harder, faster, faster, well, as much as she could get out being gagged and all. When we hear a creak, a crack, and finally we both go through the entire wall, both of us, naked as hell, mid-duck, stuck in this huge gaping hole in the wall. Suffice it to say that it sounded like an elephant falling down. We were immediately greeted by roommate number 1 with her boyfriend, and of course, roommate number 2, Jack's girlfriend, and Jack himself, running out of their rooms to see what all the commotion was about. Still very much inside her, and under a lot of rubble wrapped around sheets. And we could not get out of this mess ourselves. Everyone has to pitch in and help us get up. Everyone saw us bare ass, red in some places from rousing, and seeing us pull apart while love juice is spilling out of her like conditioner being squeezed out of its bottle. Apparently, during our fun, everyone had came back from their night out and Jack decided to stay by his girlfriend's. Naturally, do not ask me what my plan was after sex. Like most of the time, I do not think we men think that far ahead. Me and my ex started fooling around on my bed and things were getting hot and heavy. He decides to slip 2 fingers in my back door. Well, fast forward a few minutes, he takes his fingers out and lo and behold, his fingers are covered in excrement. It was not just a little residue, it was legit a huge chunk, at least the size of a golf ball. I will never forget the look of horror on his face. My natural reflex was to grab it, so I end up with a handful of my own shit, both of us freaking out and screaming. I run to the bathroom. My mom asks my ex what is going on. We found a melted Kit Kat on her bed. I am still super uncomfortable with any backdoor action 5 years later. So horrifying, I damn near cried and almost refused to face him again. And just a side note, I did not feel like I had to poop. I played a sport in college which required me to get up very early. One night while trying to get to sleep early, a blood-curdling screaming coming from the bathroom wakes me up. It is none other than my roommate's girlfriend in the shower. She is absolutely screaming bloody ducking murder, which prompts me to investigate further. I was quite upset as I had to be up in a few short hours. I opened the bathroom door to see my roommate drunk, naked, with a full wood trying to calm down his girlfriend who is doubled over in pain screaming with the shower running. My roommate discloses to me that he just took his girlfriend's anal virginity with some of the lube he found in my drawer. Said lube turned out to be my prescription acne cream, which frequently made my skin peel off my face because of how strong it was. She spent the night in the and they broke up shortly thereafter. Too long didn't he read. My college roommate sodomized his girlfriend using my prescription acne cream for lube. I accidentally snorted my excess load and the burning sensation made it feel like I was dying. My ex was laughing so hard he kicked me in the head, knocking me off the bed and onto my cat. My cat then proceeded to let out the most horrific howl and clawed my face. So between the blood, the pain of the blunt force trauma, and the inferno in my nose, I looked like I went on a date with Chris Brown. It did not happen to me, it happened to a guy I work with. Let us call him James. Basically, James was always known as the lovely quiet guy. He was incredibly shy but adorable at the same time. In his mid-30s lives alone, he did not have any friends. So one day the boss comes in and says a supplier is treating us all to free night out. A group of about 4 of us are trying to convince James to come out. He says he has not been out on the town in 3 years. We all figure we can get him a little drunk and he will really enjoy himself. So skip forward a week to this Comp D free work night out. We go to a Chinese place, have some nice food and plenty of beer, then head out to some bars. James is tagging along with me and my 4 other work buddies when we go into a bar known to always be crawling with women. So the night is progressing pretty well. James is loving it. Everyone is pretty drunk. So we hit the dance floor and a dark-haired lady would not stop dancing with James. He looks overwhelmed by the whole situation, not really knowing how to dance or react to this woman. She buys him a drink and I see her pretty much force-feeding this drink down his throat. He comes over really wasted about an hour later saying she wants me to go home with her. WTF should I do? You go duck her brains out. James was the general consensus within our group. So anyway, she come up to our group saying with a freshly brought drink in hand, one for the road, pops a straw in his mouth and he drinks a whole rum and coke straight down. Anyway, the rest of us go home feeling like we have helped James in some way. I go into work the next morning and James turns up late. He is never late. WTF happened last night, James? He does not want to talk about it. We badger him every day for about a week trying to get the story out of him. Eventually he tells us the story. I got to this woman's apartment and she was making me a cocktail in the kitchen and asked me to just wait in the bedroom. So I did. She then came into the bedroom with a cocktail and said unfortunately she had to quickly go and sort something out with her roommate and she would be back in about 10-15 minutes. So as I am sat on the bed, I realized she has closed the bedroom door behind her and I am really needing a poo. I go to open the door and it is locked. Anyway, about half an hour goes by and I cannot hold this shit in any longer. I am banging on the door desperate to go to the toilet. Eventually I had to do the most unthinkable thing. I shit on the floor. The wooden floor. I shit on it. So another 5-10 minutes pass and I hear her high heels walking down the hallway. So I bang on the door again saying let me out. She opens the door finally. I explain why there is a big log on the floor and she seems pretty understanding and says her apologies for locking the door. Anyway, I go to the toilet to go wipe etc. Come back into the bedroom to see this woman cuddling my shit in her underwear, rolling around the floor loving the fact I had shit. She was playing with it, rubbing it all over her. I just stood there, thinking WTF. So it turns out she had been feeding me laxatives all night, just waiting for me to shit. Oh, and then she kicked me out. James still works at my office but he has not been on a night out since too long. Didn't he read Shy Guy gets drugged with laxatives and locked in a room until he shits on the floor. Woman then plays with shit. I brought a girl home one night when I still lived with my folks. We were both drunk and very loud, I think. When I woke up I immediately realized this was not going to be good. They must have heard a lot. She had already gone, so I went downstairs. Dad gave me a wink and left. Ma'am sat me down and said, I need to have a chat with you. You need to treat girls with more respect. You sounded like a bear last night. You need to be gentle. WTF. I freaked out and told her to give out to me but not to give me advice. Most awkward moment ever. Also gave me kind of a complex. Too long. Didn't he read I sound like a bear? I got a cramp in one of my calves during the coitus. Me duck. Her yes. Me no. Having sex for the 3rd time ever with my first serious girlfriend in the back seat of my dad's Chrysler convertible with a leather interior. She was a virgin before our first time as well. I was hitting it full force and the back seat was getting really wet when we both started sticking to the seat. We eventually had to stop because it felt like the seat was trying to rip off skin. When we returned to the front seat of the car, the dome light revealed that she had bled all over the back. I told my dad the stains were from a spilled coffee. Much later, on my wedding night, my new wife decided to give me a blowjob. She was on her knees beside me in the bed and I was laying down. When I came, I farted in her face. I truly think that was when things started going downhill. We are divorced now. I started crying during sex for no reason at all. I do not know if I was in pain, or if I was overcome with emotion, or if it just felt really good. My boyfriend was freaking out because he thought he did something wrong. It happens. My GF started crying and laughing at the same time once afterward while having a really strong orgasm. I laughed like a madman and continued. Alright, so this just happened to me on Saturday night. I live in Minneapolis and this weekend it was the zombie pub crawl, a gigantic block party where everyone dresses up like zombies and gets wasted. I had some girls from another college come visit and they were all good friends. I was friends with one of the girls before the others and we had hooked up in the past. I could tell through the years that she would say it was no big deal, but on other occasions she would try to hook up again even though we said we would not. I really liked one of her friends and times I had tried to hook up with her and was shot down because she knew even though her friend said it was fine. She would freak out or be a total bitch about it. Well, we all went out, got wasted. Today I learned bar close and went back to my house. Well, this girl and I decided to try and sneak off into my room while everyone was still partying. They were wasted. Things got hot and heavy, and something I was not aware about this girl is that she was a freak. She liked to get bit, choked, spanked, slapped, and she would damn near orgasm every minute or so. It was amazing. Two things I was not thinking about as I was having a great time. My window was open and I live in the lower level. Anyone walking by could see clear as day in my room. On top of the fact that we were both covered in blood, we got completely dressed up for the zombie pub crawl. I had huge neck bite that had dripping fake blood all the way down my chest and stomach, also huge cuts on my arms and a big gash on my forehead. She had a lot of fake cuts on her face and also dripped blood all over them, so there was blood all over her face and chest. She also had a lot of red marks on her from us fooling around. Well, apparently some people who were walking by heard this girl who was really loud and decided to look through my window to confirm everything is okay. I guess they decided to call the cops and tell them that I was viciously raping this girl. The cops showed up at my house and my roommates let them straight in because they had their guns drawn and apparently they were yelling a lot. I heard a knock on my door vaguely through the music I had on to cover the noise and the girl yelling. I assume it was one of my roommates and I barely opened the door. Before I can get out a WTF man, I was knocked straight to the ground by police and there were about 3 police officers jumped on top of me while I am naked. I am so wasted and so confused, but all I knew is that I was in trouble. I did not have to say anything to the police for them to realize that we were at the zombie pub crawl. One of the officers who was jamming his knee in my back while I was in handcuffs stands up and looks at the girl. He asked her if it was consensual. At this point I realized that all my roommates including the other girl are all standing there watching this whole situation. A few of my roommates are laughing so hard that one even fell over. The girl that I had previously hooked up with did not think it was as funny at all. I had to listen to this girl basically explain to the cops in front of her best friend who hates her and I right now that we were doing it rough and it was completely consensual. After the police let me out of the handcuffs, which looked great standing me up in front of my roommates butt naked, completely boned up, and apologized. Even the police were sort of laughing at this point. The only person who did not think it was funny was the other girl who I had hooked up with in the past, who was so upset about it she forced her 2 friends to leave to go back to their college at like 6 or 7 in the morning. So not only did I get a rug burn on my dick, but I was blue-balled hard. I just decided when they left I went upstairs with my roommates and drank. I do not they will ever let me live this down. TLDR, it was a zombie pub crawl. Had 3 girls come to visit. One of them was an ex. Long night of drinking leads to me sneaking off with a friend of ex. We were covered in blood and fake bites and cuts for our zombie costume. Upright citizens witnessed hanky-panky through the window and called the cops. My roommates got to watch me get almost arrested butt naked in the middle of having fun because they thought I was violently raping her. Friend of X had to stand there naked in front of cops, roommates and her best friend explaining to the cops that she likes it rough and I was not hurting her. I used to date this guy and stay over at his place a lot. He also had a chick friend that would stay in his guest bedroom sometimes. So one night she gives him a clit stimulator kind of as a present for him to use on me. That night we are both kinda drunk getting busy and, mind you I exaggerate none of this, he whips out the toy and holds it against me while I am sitting on his face. Then suddenly, the levee breaks. I squirt all over his fave and at his mouth and such. First time for me, so without a word I jump up AMD into his bathroom and hide, all the while he is yelling out drunkenly. But wait, there is more. His friend runs in to see what all the yelling was about. He just repeatedly yells out, "She peed on me, she peed on my face," and I am huddled in the bathroom peeking out with a traumatized look. Oh, she laughs and explains that it was not pee blah blah squirt blah, clitoral stimulation blah, to which he responds, "She peed on me, she peed on my face." TLDR, apparently I peed on him, I peed on his face. Met a guy in the army nicknamed the Colonel, did not think much of it for a while, pretty common for the army, right? Fast forward to a night on the piss where I finally decide to quiz him on the origins of said name. A smirk develops and the following story ensues. So I meet this Latino babe at a bar, have some drinks, head back to hers, and after some fun in front I decide shoot from the rough and play the back nine. I head home post-coital. The next morning my uncircumcised dick is in searing pain. There is pus everywhere, and is on the verge of closing over. Needless to say I head straight to the doctor. He says he has not seen anything like it before and a preliminary STD test comes back clean. So he tells me to soak in the bath to help wash away the pus that was trying to blind my one-eyed snake, and sends me away with a cream and an appointment in a couple of days. So there I am, soaking in the bath, working up the courage to fight through the pain and peel back the foreskin. 3, 2, 1, duck it. As the pus and blood cleared, there it was, a little nugget of gold. The answer to my problems. There, tucked snugly underneath my helmet, sheathed for the last 18 hours, sat a shit-smeared undigested corn kernel, and that is why they call me the Colonel. On my first night in a new apartment I had my girlfriend at the time come over to help me christen the place. I had just gotten out of the army and had no furniture yet, just an inflatable mattress on the floor. Anyway, we go for an epic rough ducking marathon that night. The next day the landlord called and said we had no less than 6 noise complaints that night. It turns out the end of the air mattress, when flapping up and down, generated hurricane force winds directly at the bedroom door, which was just loose enough in its frame to slam repeatedly, shaking the whole end of this poorly constructed wing of the apartment building. So, great first impression with the new neighbors. TL Dr. Donkeys have trouble swallowing whole grapefruits while treading water and dump truck full of olive oil. Around 17 years ago, my girlfriend at the time and I were going at it in the living room. Her mom walks in and just stands there watching us duck like the teenagers we were. When my girlfriend sees her mom she screams. I jump up and turn around to see her mom standing there. Then her dad walks in. He looks me up and down and says, "Well, the door was unlocked. Did not think it was a problem to walk on in. We will give you a few minutes to dress, and how about dinner? Are we eating soon?" I turn back around and my girl is hiding her face. Like it would help at this point. I would have tried to hide my soldier, but that was not happening while at attention like that. She actually was mad at me because I asked if we could finish before we got dressed. Of all the nerve. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.